Hey Saners, and welcome to the Round 7 live review. I've just finished watching the game at my parents' place, GWS versus St Kilda, and yeah, it was a game of mixed emotions. Mainly the start of the game, that kind of dejected me of any sort of hope in terms of, winning the game. And basically, for the most part, we were chasing the game, which is not what you want to do against GWS because they are the best. It's just kind of getting a lead and holding on, and rarely do teams get back into the games with the amount of skill that they have, and Jeremy Cameron basically doing whatever the fuck he wants. If you look at the most, the margin midway through that fourth quarter, it was less than what it was at quarter time. And for me, that says that the start of the game cost us, and we really stabilised in the second and third terms, particularly the second term, because we actually got some scoreboard pressure. But in the third term, that's the one that hurts the most. The third quarter, we were all over them. I think inside 50s got to 20-5 at one point. And anytime you see that sort of margin in the discrepancy in the inside 50s, if it was a Geelong or a West Coast or a GWS, if it was the other way around, they would have kicked 20 goals in that quarter. They were going inside 50. I think at one point it was 27-51 our way. We had 24 more inside 50s, and they were scoring goals 1 in 2. So 50%, goal efficiency inside 50 for them, which is outrageous. And that just says the lack of, for me, it wasn't the defence that everyone seems to have an issue with Joyce coming in and obviously Brown missing this game, and coincidence that his man kicked 6, so it shows the importance of Nathan Brown. But for me, it was the lack of pressure from our mids, the not the two-way running, it was just going forward and not working your asses back like we were in the first month. And that makes all the difference, because if our defence, if our midfield works that hard, it forces a dumb kick into the 50, and the guys like Wilkie and Battle can actually position themselves proactively in the defence to mark the ball and then rebound. But when you basically have GWS playing in whatever way that they wanted in that first half, and streaming through the midfield, clean hands, clean ball, you're going at 88% efficiency, which is like a world record. David King was saying in Fox Footy, because he's a genius commentator. Keep it up, David, you're awesome. Not really, he's the massive flog ever. The commentators just wanted GWS to kick a cricket score, and we didn't let them do that in the end, but you could tell what way they were swinging. But it's just disappointing because the start of the game really did cost us. 50-13. It's not manageable. That's the start of the game is when you really just need to keep it tight and then kind of work your way into the game, feel out the game, and then find the opportunities to go. But the equally disappointing thing is Matty Parker gets that free kick, 25 out directly in front, and he was pretty great today as well. Kicked 2 goals, was one of the better forwards for today, but we missed that chance, and then they go up the other and kick 3 late goals in the third quarter, blow it out of reach, and then stabilize in the last. And that's kind of just been, we're not going to win. We're not going to make. We'll win the games. I mean, even I forgot who was saying. One of the commentators for Fox Footy actually said, the way we were playing, if we just make some minor tweaks, we can be a very dangerous team. And that's true. For the most part, we were 20-odd points down. The 44-point margin that ended the game really does, I think, it doesn't show how close it really was, because for parts of the game, we were literally all over GWS. That third quarter spell in the first 20 minutes, all over them. And it just kills me that we kicked 1 goal 4 in that time, and GWS kicked 4 goals in that time. And you're never going to win games when you can't utilise the ball that you've got inside 50. And it just, it dejects the confidence out of the team. It's like, wow, we've done everything we can, but we're still further behind. So it just shows the lack of class, the lack of composure. And it's an interesting one. Is it our mids just rushing and bombing, or is it the fact that our mids don't have anyone leading up to them and creating space? Is it the forwards problem? I personally think it's a bit of both. I think we do have a few players that just like to bomb and put it on Josh Bruce's head and just hope that he's going to take speckies every week, but he's not. But at the same time, when you look at, our players going for the ball, Membry, Bruce and Marsh at times all went for the same ball. You don't see that with a lot of really good teams. You never see Darling and Kennedy going for the same fucking ball. It's always separate. They always split it. They keep it open. Same with the GWS forwards, Himmelberg and Cameron. You don't see... Cameron was isolated, and that's what you want to do with your best players. Isolate them where you know they can hurt the opposition, and we just went clever there. My other points are probably that stick out to me when I think about the game is Gresh, massively off. He had over 16 possessions, but most of them were ineffective. A couple of on the fools, a couple of selfish moments where he tried to kick goal of the year, and it didn't work out for him. Gave away a lot of free kicks. I'm just going to say that it wasn't his game. He had enough of the ball to do something with it. And on any other day, he probably kicks 3 or 4 and sets up a couple more and looks good, but wasn't his day. Billings just didn't live up to it. We talked during the week about him re-signing and wanting huge money and blah, blah, blah. Today didn't even warrant anything like that. You can't dish that up he's great at when the team's going well, he's kind of doing well, but when we need a leader to stand up against adversity, we don't really have anyone that can buck the trend there. Seb Ross is the same. He was average, I thought. Had a lot of the ball. Marshall battled immensely against Mumford and was actually the number 1 ranked player on the ground for the app that I look at, Footy Live. He had 22 disposals, more than Billings and Marsh and Gresh. I thought he tackled well. He got Mumford around the ground, and he kicked 2 goals. He had composure in front of goal, unlike a lot of our players. I'm not going to criticise Josh Bruce too much. He only had 7 possessions and kicked a point, but delivery to him was awful. So I'm not going to be too harsh on our forwards. And Mackenzie, I thought, stood up. He took some big grabs in that last term and stood up and. Despite what a lot of people think about Mackenzie, I thought he was one of the best backs today. Joyce was clearly out of his depth, and it's not his fault. I mean, we dropped Nathan Brown, I think maybe for some more flexibility, and I to be fair, thought that Joyce was there to add that flexibility, but maybe we just needed someone that could hold body against Cameron, because, when he's one-on-one, he was rarely outmarked, and he caused us a lot of problems, and he always seems to, so it's really disappointing there. And Patton, I thought, really impressed. I thought he was one of the highlights for me. Hunter Clark, you can see why they drop him. He got the ball and did some nice things. But to be fair, I noticed when Fox Footy was showing the bench stats, he was the longest on the bench for most of the game. There was a point where he was on the bench for more than half the quarter. So I don't know if that's a management thing or their game wasn't going the way that they thought would suit his style. But he seemed to be off on the bench for a long amount of time. So I'm not sure if there was a niggle there or some sort of injury going around. But, that was disappointing. I'm going to stop there and I'll go through some of these comments while I have you guys. Keep them coming and we can discuss them. Glenn says our game was all over the place, at times woeful, at times great. Pete says, what are your thoughts on the selectors dropping Brown for Joyce, who got a lazy bag of 6 kicked on him today? I thought it was an okay move. I didn't think too much of it when I saw the team come out. But then when it's in hindsight, decisions are very easy. But I think we just needed to settle the back line. We didn't want to change too much, and I think we did in the end. And Joyce, to be fair, has been okay. I don't know why people think he should never play again because of this performance. I wouldn't judge him too much because, like I said, our midfield did not support our defence. And I think in the first 4 weeks, our defence was so good. It looked better than it did because of how good our mids got into the faces of the midfielders of the opposition who could rush a kick. They didn't have time to compose themselves and kick it to someone that was on a lead. They just bombed it, and Battle would punch it out. Geary would punch it out. We'd intercept Mark with Wilkie and then be on the rebound. But today we didn't do any of that, so I actually criticise our mids more than I would Joyce. Forward entries and centre clearances are a problem, big problem. Yeah, I think our forward entry style is probably the worst in the AFL. you'd think by now has been, because it's been years. It's not just today. It's literally the last 4 or 5 years, almost entirely under Richo's reign. We've been dog shit at delivering inside 50, and I thought that was gonna change, bringing in Brett Ratton. It's still early, but they do it. They're capable of it, but they don't choose to do it. So I don't know if we just have a composure problem, or it's a really big thing that, we need to bomb it to Membry and Bruce because they're big forwards. We don't have to. Create decoys, get Gresham Akers to take some leads. Dean Kent took 5 of our 10 marks inside 50 today, and he kicked 2 goals for. What does that say? Glenn says Gresh was tagged for the first time. That's fair enough. Dave says kick into the 50 in hope, with no sort of plan. It's always just a dumb kick inside 50. Stuart says that was bad as it could get. What happened to Billings and Gresham and no-show? Our forward line not working. Need to fix it. I agree with you. Do you guys think that Marsh should stay in the team? I thought he did some good things, and I like that he allowed Bruce to push up the ground, but we could still have a player deep. What did you guys think? Do you think he plays against the Eagles? Does he go back? Does Battle go forward? I'm curious to know what you guys think of that, because I do think we need that third tall, and I think maybe unless... I think Max King is going to play for Sandy next week, which is super exciting for us. But until he's ready to go, I think Marsh probably stays as a third tall. You let me know what you guys think. Parker continues his consistency. Yeah, he's no fuss. He just plays the way he knows he can play, and he's kicked 2 goals in most weeks. He's been a great pickup. It's a shame that a lot of our other forwards can't follow that same consistency. Joel says Bruce is absolutely dreadful at the moment. If he is injured, don't play him. I really think that we're not playing to Bruce's strengths. I was saying this to my mum before, but we're bombing it to his head as if he's going to take Specky of the Year every time. Bruce at his best, and you guys watch highlights of this, he's not a one-on-one brute where he pushes a guy out and marks it. He is a lead-up forward, and he's very good at that. He can push off and run. That's when he was the main guy and the forward 50 was open. Now we're getting players running in there. It's flooded. We're bombing it to Membry, and it's just not working for him. We're not playing to his strengths. So I'm not going to judge him too harshly. We were beaten by a side that can play football when we were just bombing the ball forward and hoping for the best. Brown needs to play, says Jace. What a paltry effort. They won't take it. Bruce didn't play. Daniel says, I think we didn't run hard enough in the first. Provided great pressure for the second and third until Parker missed that shot. I find it concerning that as soon as we find out we have Dermy teaching the forwards at our club that we dish up the rubbish. Unacceptable. That's from Pete. Brett says Marshall, Parker, Steele, Billings okay, Gresh very flat, Bruce not fit, Skunk flat, backline monstered, all up very poor, especially when they could have made a difference. Glenn says, yeah, I knew Parker would miss that, the kind of goal a clever player misses. There is no A-grade player playing for us at the moment. Ben Long needs to lift, been ineffective the last 3 weeks. Perfect opportunity, guys. Nick Hind and Robbie Young. Those are 2 names that are going to come up big time in the selection table. I think that Kent saved himself with a couple of goals. I think Ben Long is on the chopping block big time. So it depends on how we want to go against West Coast. I would like to trial a Nick Hind, off the half-back flank or even half-forward flank. He's got pace. We know he can kick well. He lowers the eyes, and a lot of players that we have don't do that. I'd like to test him out. Maybe Robbie Young as well, but I don't know who would be the replacement. Meg says mids don't have much to kick to. Bruce is a sunk cost that we need to cut loose. It's harsh, very harsh. Ash says Marshall not strong enough with the bigger named Ruckman. Mummy destroyed him. Don't know why we didn't keep Longer in. That I think if there's ever a troll comment, I reckon that's it, because there is absolutely no chance that we can agree with that. I don't think anyone else can agree with that, Ash. I think Marshall is, they call him the prospect for a reason. He is an immense prospect, and he's only 21 or however old he is. He's going to be a gun ruckman, and he's a competent forward. It's just if we can get a decent second ruckman, and we can allow him to go forward, it's going to be a luxury. I think he's a brilliant player, and I think that he's great below his knees. He's a great field kick. He's a great mark. He did some big things in this game, and he took on a very physical Mumford, and no doubt that when, Marshall gets into the gym more, he's going to get bigger and he's going to match those guys and get them on the outside, like a Heath Grundy, who was amazing last night if you watched the Collingwood Port game. Thought Wilkie played well despite a few mistakes, says Flynn. Grant says Gresham selfish, Ross poor delivery, Billings poor, but probably just saved 150k a year in his contract. Mackenzie's best game so far. A lot of people disagreeing with Ash. Cooper says Long, Joyce, Clark were trash VFL for the year. Webster injured. Don't gift anyone games because of their age. So in Hind, Brown, Phillips, and Young for the names above. I don't mind that. Joe says we're going to win some games and lose more. Right now we below average side going around. Danny says the ability is there, but the belief is lacking. Mark says we've simply lost too many A-graders. Losing Geary alongside Carlisle and Robertson has tipped the defensive scale. Still wondering why we got ex-Carlton defender Rowe at the club if we ain't going to play him. I think Joyce was moved off Cameron after half-time. And that's what stabilised. Wilkie actually did a good job there. Really happy with our composure. It was unrealistic to think we could improve an insane amount in 1 year. I'm very happy to see the small improvements from last year. Picked up a few good players and have a better mindset about the team in tough spots. We can work with that easily. Miss Loney ground pressure. Our structures don't allow clean forward 50 entries. No point having key forwards who push up too far up the ground unless they can kick 80 or 90 metres. Too many times we rely on smaller running plays running or swarming into our forward 50. Spot on about the Richo style of inside 50 they are used to Richo's game plan. It's habit and needs to be coached out of the team. Richo is not the man. Eagles next week, a must-win game. Our outs are hurting. Marsh wasn't bad. He gave it a decent shot. We can see what we can do with him. Ross's disposal, he got 26. I don't know what his efficiency was, but I'm taking it. It wasn't very high. Battle is being wasted in the backline. He was mentored by Matthew Lloyd. We need that goal-kicking power. How are we the fittest club? We look very slow. And let's cut it to be honest, I didn't expect to win this game, but fuck me, they were playing like a bunch of junior footballers with no game plan. That's from Brett. I'm going to leave it there, guys. It was disappointing. I kind of looked forward to a response from last week, and to an extent we got that mid-game, the second quarter and the third quarter for a part. But the first quarter really did it. We can't allow teams to get a jump on us like that. West Coast next week, Saturday night, Marvel. Let's go there and back the boys. If we can win that, against the Premiers, this is the sort of game that we can come out and just go all out because there's nothing to lose. I don't think West Coast have been travelling. They've won a few games this season, but they've been smacked a few times by a few good teams as well, including GWS. So, actually, I think West Coast smashed them, other way around. But I think we should look forward to the challenge. Hopefully we can bring in Hind and debut him, maybe even Robbie Young. That'd be exciting for the fans. I do agree with the Fox Footy commentators. They agree that we've got the foundation of becoming a very competitive team. We can go to that next level if we can just fix the composure going inside 50. If we can lower the eyes and kick, even it's like we want to kick goals from 5 metres out. Who cares? Kick them from the 40. That's the that people assume that we're just going to bomb it. So mix it up. Lead up. Our opponents don't expect us to do that. They expect the ball to go to the top of the goal square every single time. So mix it up. That's the thinking that I want from the coaches. And I hope they acknowledge that today. And I'm just wondering if the players, after the game think, fuck, I bombed it. I didn't use the ball as well as I could have. If they actually admit their faults. Because we're going to have to do that against West Coast. They've got McGovern. They've got Hearn. They've got some very good players in the back line that can intercept Mark. And no doubt that's going to be a focus for us to avoid that. So bombing it is not going to be the plan against West Coast. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Keep your comments coming and I'll answer them when I can. Again, it was GWS by 44 points, which was, I think, kind of flattering. I thought we were better than 44 points, barring, removing the first quarter from our memory. Hopefully we can come back next week and give the Eagles a tough game at Marvel. I'll see you guys on Thursday night for the preview of that. Catch you guys. See ya.